Hi there, fellas. This is Vinney Chopra. As you know, I come live, on podcast every week with the Syndication Made Easy, the book I wrote that became the top seller. And I thank you for following me, for giving great comments and liking me and sharing and giving me that 5-star reviews. We have so many great reviews now for the podcast. We are hitting almost 100,000 downloads, guys, within a year. So I really want to thank you. I've got a great guest today. You're going to love him. Actually, he's my mentor. He's my teacher. He's my guru, as I call in Indian language, and that's David Lindahl. David Lindahl of Audi Mentor is joining me today. Hello, David. How are ya?
I'm doing well, Vinney. I left my beard in the closet, but I can pull it out if you'd like. My long flowing white beard.
No, it's been such a fantastic journey. I remember the day, I think it was 2004 or 6, that we go way back, 15, 17 years back. I found out, I asked somebody, I said, I want to learn about multifamily. And they said, there is only one person, number one person, and that's Mr. David Lindahl. And I searched you and I went on the Amazon and I found your 2 top sellers. They're still top sellers now. And I'm so proud and, got to know, I bought your course and then we met in San Francisco, if I remember correctly. And
yes,
joined your courses and
you went to all those different events and I couldn't shake you. I was trying to lose you at every turn, but no, we ended up having lunches together and becoming friends. It's been a great journey.
We surely did, Dave. Please tell us, the audience, I know you're a well-known personality. You're epic. I mean, you're the grandfather of syndication and multifamily, to be truthful. As I call Gene Trowbridge, my good friend, your good friend, as the grandfather of syndication attorney. You're the grandfather. You started this way before than anybody else got on the bandwagon.
I did. I started teaching how to invest in multifamily because there was nobody out there teaching when I started. And I had a really difficult time with it when I started way back in 1996. So it was about 8 years into my doing deals. I had almost 800 units. And then I was invited to speak at somebody else's boot camp. And she said, well, what do you do well? And I said, well, I renovate properties really, really good because I've renovated so many of my multifamily units. Mm-hmm. And they said, well, I do that. Can you teach on anything else? And I said, well, I buy apartments, a lot of them. I could teach on that. And she said, that'd be perfect. Do that. And that started the whole thing. I started teaching, and that was back in 2002. And from there, the next year, I had, 46 different opportunities to teach because she had 3 different real estate investment club owners in her group. And then the next year, I created the course. So I had over 150 speaking gigs. It just got crazy. At the same time, I went from 800 units to 8,000 units along the journey. So I'm out there teaching, and then I'm out there buying, and then I'm teaching what I'm buying. It worked out really well for everybody. It worked out well for you.
Oh, it surely did. Oh my gosh. That was the best. I tell my wife, Kanchan, and my children, right? Here is this boy who came from, India with $7. And of course, I was doing promotional sales at that time. But when I wanted to get into real estate, I said, multifamily just made sense to me, totally being an engineer. And thank goodness I stayed in that lane. And thank goodness I joined your academy, your number one academy, and also the coaching. I mean, very, very caring coaches. That's what I would say. Yeah. Ron Junk comes in my mind. Yeah.
Ron Junk's still with us. The whole idea behind the coaches was I didn't start a coaching program until about six years into it because I just didn't have time to coach myself. And so I started having very, very successful students, and I started asking them, hey, how would you like to be my coaches as well? So it's just like a product of the system, teaching others how to do the system. It worked out really well.
So glad. And let take me down the memory lane. I know you started so many great things. I know mastermind group, inner circle. I remember, sharing something about investors. I was getting investors' money like 99.6%, rather than losing them on the way. And I shared with your mastermind paying 2% annual interest, I think, from the day they wired the money into my LLC's account,
Yeah, I remember that.
I
I used
still
to tell
do it.
people not to do that
I
until
know.
you actually until you came up with your reasoning as to why you did do it. And I thought, what, that makes sense. I'm stop telling people not to do that. Like everything's an evolution. Not everybody has all of the answers for everything, and I am always a student
Me too. Me
and looking
too.
to learn.
Right now, I'm a top student of learning the new tricks, the VAs, virtual assistants, and doing all these. Social media is so big now. Of course, when the investors want to invest with you, they want to check you out.
Oh yeah,
You know?
absolutely. Yeah, they look at your social media presence everywhere. Raising money is so different from just 5 years ago.
Yeah.
5 years ago, you'd look for rooms to get into, and you try to network, and you have to talk to people. You'd offer opportunities, and it's just so difficult. Whereas today, it's all technology driven.
I see.
You get your own podcast, you build up your social media accounts, people get to know you, people stalk you to get to know you before you even meet them, and
Yeah.
then they're pre-sold before they even meet you if you do it properly.
So true. So true. Another thing I want to really thank you. 2010, that's 11 years back. You invited me. You said, Vinney, you're raising ton of money through
Hmm.
luncheons. Remember, I used to do presentations. You paid for my ticket. I still remember that. You paid for my hotel ticket and
Oh
everything.
yeah,
And I had a stage with you and Gene Trowbridge, right?
that's right. Yeah, that was the raising private money when I heard
Yeah, in
what you were
Chicago.
doing.
In Chicago, I thought. It was in Chicago many, many years back, and we had 300 of your students were in the audience. And
Yep.
I remember you said, Vinny, how many slides you got? I still remember that. I said 87. He said, how long it's gonna take to do this?
I know. I remember when you said that. I was like, what? Yeah.
Oh
But
my
hey,
God.
you certainly learned the power of the stage, because
Oh,
it's so
thank
important. Who I was talking to? My good friend Richard Wilson, who runs the family offices,
you.
and
Mhm.
we were talking about how important it is to get in front of people. In terms of networking. And you're not an introvert. Both myself and Richard, we're introverts. And I would go onto Richard's. I would ask him, please let me speak on your stage. He would, he has those events. He has anywhere from 400 to 800 people, family offices.
Yeah.
Say, please let me speak on your stage. Let me talk about the emerging markets that are happening right now, and so I can offer my book. So first I would be seen as an authority figure by everybody in the audience. And then after I was done, I could say, hey, you come to the back, I'll exchange your information for my book on emerging real estate markets. And I didn't have to network at all. People would just come to me for the rest of the time. I got a really funny story about his events too. One time, it was a really high net worth event. I mean, these people were worth 200 million, 500 million. And there's probably about 60 or 70 of them in the audience. He asked me to speak. So they do the introduction. And when they did, usually, people do an introduction, and they rile the crowd up, and then the crowd gives you a big, warm round of applause. And so the guy says, yeah, Dave Lindahl's here, and he's gonna start us off. He's gonna keynote us. He's gonna teach us about emerging markets and how to invest in them. And ladies and gentlemen, here's Dave Lindahl. And I was in the back of the room, as usual, walking my way up, and it was silence, dead silence. And I was like, whoa, this is gonna be a tough crowd. So I got up to the front of the stage, and I looked out, took a deep breath, and I said, I just want to thank everybody for that warm reception that you just gave me. And then everybody started laughing, and it broke the ice. And I had a good presentation after that. But
Oh my
yeah,
gosh. Oh my gosh. I also remember, Dave, you took us to Harvard University. Do you remember
yeah,
that?
my alumni, yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
the Harvard Club.
Yes, yes, yes. And we had a great luncheon and we went through that whole presentation, that whole day we spent there. That was very,
Oh
very,
yeah, I took you. You were in one of the groups I actually took to the business school, and I took you for a
yes.
tour of the business school, and then we had dinner at the
Yeah,
Harvard Club after
yeah.
that. Yeah, that was a good day. I did that, I think, only 3 times.
Oh, I see.
Uh,
Oh,
yeah,
I
those
was
were special
fortunate
events.
all those times I was
Yeah,
there. Wow,
I,
wow.
this. I remember one time I was having lunch with you. I think when we were first going out. We were first meeting,
Yeah.
and obviously you're from India, and I noticed you eating a hamburger. And I remember looking down and seeing the hamburger and seeing you. And I said, Vinney, you're from India, right? And you said, yes. I said, you're eating a hamburger. I didn't think people from India ate hamburgers. And I remember exactly what you said. You said, Dave, I came over here X number of years ago, and I lived with my uncle. And my uncle said to me, Vinney, you have a choice. You can eat beef or not eat beef. He said, I chose to eat beef because hamburgers from the United States are made with American cows, and they're not sacred like our Indian cows are. So it's okay if you want to eat American cows. And I thought that was the funniest thing. And that was the best way to describe why an Indian would be eating beef in America. That was awesome.
I know, I remember that. Yeah, I know I've been asked that thing, and I tell, I'm glad, gosh, I'm healthy right now. I used to be a pencil. I used to be very thin, by the way, when I came to America 44, 46 years back, whatever.
Wow.
But now I'm healthy and I need to lose weight. No.
You must have been very poor.
I was poor. I couldn't.
Yeah.
Hey, came with $7, No,
My wife, my best friend married an Indian girl from India. We went over to Mumbai for the wedding, and I just remember seeing there's so many skinny people, and then everybody at the wedding, they're all fat. And I remember talking to one of the people, and they said, oh yeah, if you've got money, you show it by being heavy. They never want to see you skinny. That's why all the mothers fatten up their kids, so it looks like they're, so if you're skinny coming from India, that meant that you didn't have a lot of money when you came from India.
I still remember my grandma really would cook with desi ghee, which is a butter, right? Some special pudding so that I put on weight. I literally remember that anyway. But, it's so good to give gratitude every morning with the miracle morning that, I'm sure you do. Everybody should do it, is to remember who brought you into this world, grandparents, ancestors, mom, dad, everybody, which I really pay good tribute to. I'm 68. I'll be 69 this year. And I'm so fired up for the next 20 years.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I know. Thank you.
Talking about gratitude, though, you're right about gratitude. When you wake up in the morning and you think about what you're grateful for and remember those things, it brings you abundance. If you wake up and you're worried about what's going to happen that day, you're living in scarcity. Yeah. So it totally sets your day up from the very beginning and how you're going to live that day. There's nothing better than living in gratitude and in gratitude of something that hasn't even happened yet. And you think about, I'm so thankful that's going to happen.
Yes.
And it brings it towards you.
It's so true. So true. I've learned so many great principles through you and to a lot of the Jim Rowans and the, Zig Ziglars and Tony Robbins. I mean, all the great, great mentors. Let's talk about today. We're going to talk about, I know we are COVID driven in multifamily. Wow. It's just like 2020.
Huge opportunity coming up.
Tell me more about it. Tell our audience about it. Yeah.
Well, here's the deal. Whenever you get into a crisis situation, like we did during the 2008 financial crisis, and you came through that, you saw the opportunity, we shared with everybody. Well, first of all, when a crisis hits and you own properties, the first thing you need to do is survive the crisis, right? It's like, okay, so what's going on? How do we survive this? What are we going to do? What are we going to implement? What are going to be the best practices? And then after you survive, you figure out how you're going to survive. Then you look at the opportunity, because every crisis creates an opportunity. So then you think to yourself, all right, what's the opportunity here? What's going to happen? So after we analyzed the market and saw what, the 2008 financial crisis was a lot different from the COVID crisis that's happening. And the coronavirus crisis, it's all about marginal owners, people that never really learned how to asset manage their properties properly. Because we just came out of a 12-year upcycle, which is the longest upcycle we've seen in multifamily real estate, in a long, long time. We knew we were in the late innings of this cycle. As you couldn't go into a market like a primary or secondary market and buy 3 to 5 deals, typically that we do in an emerging market. They just weren't there. Scarcity in the marketplaces. We were going into tertiary markets. All of the emerging markets had gone from the coast, like they do in every cycle, started turning inward to the Midwest. And in the Midwest, they're mostly tertiary markets where you can't really stake a flag. There's not high population. You can do one-off deals. And then those one-off deals takes you into the next correction. Well, as we were going up, people would learn how to invest. They would do their underwriting. And if they made a mistake in their underwriting, it was corrected by the market. The rents would rise, in the upswing of the market. The values would increase in the upswing of the market. And even though they made those mistakes, they were corrected. And a lot of times they didn't realize they were making those mistakes. So they'd make the same mistake over and over again, not knowing it, thinking that they were an alchemist, that everything they touched turned to gold, because that's what happens in an upcycle. I mean, that's why we always talk about emerging markets. But and then people chase deals and they chase acquisition fees. It's always sexy to do $1 million plus deal. It's always sexy to raise $1 million plus raise to do a deal. But when it comes to operating, it's not so sexy. I mean, we were doing in 2020, actually in 2019, before COVID hit, we did 80 multifamily boot camps, multifamily millions, 3-day events. People were coming to them in droves. And then we had how to raise private money. So in the raising private money, we were doing at least one a month of those, putting people in. And then we had how to operate your deal, managing the manager, we called it. Okay. Nobody would come. They would come to how to do the deals. They would come to how to raise the money. But when it came to operating, even though it was even part of their package and they could come for free, they weren't coming because it wasn't sexy. But that was how that they could ensure that their investors were getting, the right returns. But the market was giving them the returns because they were increasing. So it's those investors out there that never really learned how to asset manage. When the crisis came, they didn't know how to survive the crisis. They didn't know what the best practices were. Those were the people that when the foreclosure started happening, and everything got locked down, their revenue started to drop. With their revenues dropped, they stopped doing the maintenance, the repairs and maintenance on the properties because they didn't have the revenues to do them. Good tenants are not going to stay in a property where the repairs and their maintenance aren't being done, where they don't think they're being cared for. Okay. And by now that the number one reason that people leave a property is not because of the rents, the size of the rent or a rent increase. It's because you don't take care of the tenants themselves. It's because you don't take care of the maintenance. That's the number one reason that people leave. So now you've got the good tenants leaving. Do you want to say something?
No. That's
okay. So now you get
money. Yeah.
Yep. You got good tenants leaving. All right. Now you can't get other good tenants coming in because the property doesn't look that great. Now this is over a series of months. So now you're replacing your good tenants with below good tenants. Okay. And eventually you get to marginal tenants. Those marginal tenants, they're not always paying, for 3 or 4 months out, they stop paying a lot of times. So now not only do your revenues have decreased because of the fact that your tenants aren't paying because of COVID, but also you're getting in poor quality tenants. So the amount of revenues are decreasing as well. So as the revenues decrease, the rents start to decline because now they're trying to attract anybody into the marketplace, into their property. It's what I call the death spiral. It starts to go down. Smart owners that recognize the fact that they're not skilled to manage the properties, they've already sold their properties. They was like, okay, I got a bunch of equity. I don't want to lose it. I can't do this. I'm selling. The people that are hanging on, that think that they can figure this out or they can just hang on until this is over, it's too late. Those are the ones that right now where they're getting behind on their mortgages in the bank, and the banks are going to be taking over. And I think in the second quarter of this year, you're going to see a tsunami of these properties coming onto the marketplace. The great thing is that they're in everybody's backyard. They're marginal owners in everybody's backyard. You don't have to go to an emerging market. And as long as you recognize the right deals to get into, you can kill it over the next quarter or two. And then it's going to be gone. This opportunity is going to be gone. It's going to come and it's going to go. And it's going to be very quick. But when it's here, it's like back up the pickup truck, fill it up to the brim, scoop up as many properties as you can, because it's going to be life-changing wealth for those that get involved.
1000%. Oh my gosh. So eloquently you put it, Dave. And that's what, we've been watching, listening, and you just illustrated the whole reason why it's going to be happening. And I think a lot more will be happening at the lower level, won't you say? Like, anywhere from 20 units to maybe 100 units, let's say. I think institutional investors or the groups or funds will be able to do okay, I guess, right? What do you think?
Well, yeah, larger owners will be able to do okay because they've see, it's not all of the properties where the coronavirus had the biggest impact. They had their biggest impact on the C pluses, some of the B minuses. Institutional ownership in the B minus properties, they're not going to be as affected, or if they are, they've got the resources. A lot of those institutional investors have the resources to weather their way through. There was a big crisis back in 1995, big real estate crisis. And the whole mantra was survive through 95. And then once they get through 95, the big guys continue to go on. It's the same thing here, survive through Corona. I'd like to invest in the student housing. And here in Boston's always been a really, really tight market for anything. Because the Chinese want to invest here, the Europeans want to invest here, and sophisticated people want to have their money in Boston. So you can't buy based on the trinity that we typically buy at. There's not a lot of value add. You buy on very low cap rates if you want to be in the marketplace. But right now, because all the students haven't been in college, all the students, they're empty. But so I talked to a couple of friends of mine who are rental brokers. And it's like, okay, so, where's the opportunity? Where's the opportunity? And they said, it's not in the institution. It's not in the big guys. They can weather this out. They don't have big loan to values on their properties. It's the smaller guys. It's those 3 units. It's the 6 units. Those are where the opportunities are in the marketplace. So you're right. It's the smaller, unsophisticated investors are the ones that are going to be losing their properties the most. But even then, that will range right up to 5 million and below, in terms of a price point.
Surely, surely. And I mean, that's where most of the early starting investors are getting into, right? Where you teach and I teach. I mean, they are the
Yep.
ones, they need to really hunker down, get the financing, qualifications going. And I say, have the dry powder is out there. A lot of money is out there.
Ton. There's a lot of money out there waiting to be implemented into properties. Yep.
Exactly. I mean, this is the lifetime opportunities as we are recording it today. First gets on the bandwagon and get into Ari mentorship right there, my buddy.
Oh, we'll be happy to train you. But here's the thing. It's going to, like you said, we're in March right here. The opportunity is going to come. And I tell people, if you will do for 3 to 5 years what most people won't do, you'll be able to do for the rest of your life what most people can't. In this marketplace, we're talking 2 to 3 years. When you say once in a lifetime, it's like once in a generation. The last time we had a crisis like this was the 2008 financial crisis. Now we've got the coronavirus crisis. In 10 to 12 years, there's going to be another crisis. But that's 10 to 12 years away. If you focused on this crisis right now for 2 to 3 years, you will be set. You can set yourself up in your next generation up for the rest of your life. You can, you remember the attitude, Vinney? I always say from stage, you can have the attitude that you can do what you want, when you want, where you want, for as long as you want, and with who you want, right? That's what you can do for the rest of your life if you just focus on this opportunity. And it's not going to be sky's going to open up, property's going to fall down, and you're going to be rich overnight. It takes work to do this business. But if you're willing to do the work, if you're willing to follow proven systems, you can do it. Anybody can do it. I've proven that. We've been teaching since 2002. We've got tens of thousands of successful people that come from, all different backgrounds, all walks of life, all with their unique set of challenges doing the business, because you just simply follow a system.
So true. And I want to give kudos to you. Dave, my little boy, I came in there into your thing, and I think we purchased our first unit was duplex, of course, and single families, we sold them all, but 14 units, Dave, after learning from you. And
that was a big one.
Coaches, 14 units for $180,000 was my
wow.
start, with my partner. Now we bought $52 million deal, and I've done 36 syndications thanks to you teaching us how to really raise money and everything and perfecting those systems. We have $441 million portfolio as of today.
Wow. How many? 441. That's awesome. How many units is that?
Thank you. That's 4,500 units.
4,500 units, 440 million under management. But you think back to that 14 unit property for 180,000, right? How scared were you?
Very scared. Oh my gosh. We didn't want to take that step. It was because of Ron Jung we bought it. I'm telling you.
He gave you a kick in the ass?
Coaches are the best of the best that you have, because, they tell you, Vinney, hey, this is where, have you looked into this? Have you looked into that? Have you seen these numbers? All those things, right? And then we bought 109 units with 101 storage units, 2.4 million we bought in Odessa, Texas. I remember. Holy cow. We sold that for 5 million. But had it not been for Ron Jung, I want to give kudos to him and Ginny Orlowski and Patty Perdue. My very good friend, Jackie White. Hold on.
Yeah.
I don't know if Jackie's still, around. And then
Paul. Yes, she is.
Yeah. And Dave Lindahl. How can I forget Jeff? I owe so
much. Jeff does this event called immersion now. So after people come into the boot camp, they join mentorship, and then we immerse them into a market. We pick 3 deals from the market. We get all the underwriting in the deals, and he explains exactly how to go through all the underwriting. And then he actually takes the people to the property that they underwrote the next day, and they get to touch and feel it and really understand it from a physical sense. And then on the 3rd day, they do team building. And I'll tell you what, my brother Jeff, he is just, if you put him in front of a camera, he is like the shyest, meekest guy. You put him in front of people on a stage and go out at nighttime, he is crazy. People absolutely love hanging out with that guy and going to that event. And we
Oh,
have so many stories. We have so many Jeff stories here, about how they spent a great night with Jeff out at whatever city it was. And it's
I
just
love
awesome.
it. I love it. I love it. How could we really, I mean, what would be maybe three things, Dave, you will tell new investors, right? How can they, if they want to get started and be successful, what will be those three success things, would you say?
Uh, so it's a process. There's really three things that you really need to understand. Number one is getting deals. So it's either going to, in this market, direct mail works really, really well because of the coronavirus opportunity, and then relationships with brokers. So you've got to understand how to get deals coming in so you don't get into a situation where you fantasize why a deal could work when it really doesn't work. And the only reason we rationalize, and the reason you rationalize is because you don't have deal flow coming in. That's number one. Number two, raising money is not as hard as you might think. Raising money, if you follow a simple process, is actually very easy. It can be so easy as somebody saying to you at a social situation or a business situation, what do you do? When you say, oh, I invest in emerging real estate markets. And then they're like, what? And then, if they're interested, they bring themselves right down this path to raise their hand to say, oh, how do I get involved? Or, they're not interested and they start talking about something else. At least you've weeded them out. But it's very easy for the introverts like me. It's very, very easy. And then the third thing is underwriting. You need to, it's a business based upon math. That doesn't mean if you're not good at math, you can't do the business. It just means you need to understand the underwriting process, because I personally am not good at math. I hate doing the underwriting, but I learned it. I understood it. So I know what good underwriting looks like. So I have other people underwrite for me, and then they send it to me so I can look at it and know that, okay, this is a deal when they say it's a deal. So, and sometimes it's not. I'll look and say, hey, what about this? Here's an outlier right here. You missed that. That's no good, but it saves me the time. So you need to know your underwriting, especially if you're just starting out and you're looking to partner with people. If you're looking for the fastest way to get started and you don't have money in this business, then you become one that sources the deals and you bring deals to people, because there's so many people out there that want to do deals that have money. But if you bring them a deal that doesn't work, they'll be like, this deal doesn't work. What's the matter with you? And then if they take another deal from you, and you make the same mistakes, then forget it. You've just ruined that relationship. So just spend time, just spend some time and understand how to underwrite a deal. And that's it. And then just take action, schedule yourself and take action on a regular basis. And as you know, Vinney, the very first deal is the hardest one to do. But after you do that, you build so much momentum because you had to put systems in place, because you had to put a team in place. And then after you do the deal, it's like, it worked. It worked, and then you have all the confidence in the world, and the deals just start coming in. And we've seen that happen since 2002 here with students on a regular basis. It happened with you. It happened with me. I mean, I didn't do my first deal for 9 months after I decided I wanted to be a multifamily investor. I was bird dogging deals to other people because I was so afraid to do them. And then when I finally did do my first deal, it was a 3-family, and I would only do 3 to 6 families for the next 3 years. I bought about 40 of them, but I would only do the small ones because I was afraid to take the next step and go bigger. So it's stepping stones. It's harnessing your fear. It's harnessing your anxiety. But you do that through education. The fear is going to be there. Education allows you to harness the fear and move forward.
So true. So true. I'm just thinking about, my career. I remember distinctly you said, Vinney, transaction is a transaction is a transaction. It's just extra zeros on the right side.
That's it. Absolutely. It's just got more zeros. But I'll admit, every time you go to the next level up, it's nerve-wracking until you start doing like 150 unit deals regularly. And that's like, okay, so I got this down. I got this business. I understand it.
I totally agree with you. And I think, just like you said, once it gets moving, then the things start happening. Loan qualification gets easier, by the way, more and more. And then you become more savvy in due diligence, in financial due diligence, the whole bit, right? Like I think 34 syndications I've done so far, I think 14 have come in the last four years. 14 of them. Just in the 4 to 5 years, with my new company, it's only 6 years old. But
yeah,
I think
I'll tell you what, when that momentum comes in and starts to go, it's just like it's balls to the wall and you're doing nothing but deals, but you're making so much money, that you don't really care. Things are happening. Here's the thing though, that I get, we've got a business building event, and I'll have students come to the business building event telling me how their business has grown so much. At first it was a struggle. Doing the first couple of deals a struggle, but then all of a sudden they start taking off and they want to learn the systems, and what's the most important system to do next. And most of the time I would look at the student and I would say, the next thing for you is to stop doing deals. And they'd be like, what? I would say, yeah, you're growing too fast. Your infrastructure isn't keeping up with your growth. And if you keep doing deals like this, you're going to implode. So at every, at 1,000 units, you need a certain infrastructure. At 2,500 units, you need a different infrastructure. 5,000 units, every 2,500 units after that, it's a different infrastructure. And you have to keep pace with the infrastructure in order to keep growing. Otherwise, you need to stop, put your systems in place, and then continue to grow again. But nobody wants to hear that because it's working now. Brokers are giving them deals. They can't stop. It's like an addiction, it's the deal addiction.
So
but,
true.
I've seen it happen both ways. I've seen people stop and do it and build their infrastructure. And I've seen people not stop and some implode and some of them just barely make it through. I know this, I can teach that because this happened to us at about the 4,000 unit mark, where our infrastructure, we had grown too fast. We'd gotten to that point way too fast. And the whole thing almost went upside down. For like a 2-year period, we had 4 or 5 deals inside of a 30 property portfolio that were going to go upside down. And that's all I could think about. And that's all we worked on for 2 years, is to keep those deals up. And it was all because our infrastructure didn't keep up with our growth. So I teach that lesson from a firsthand point of view.
No, I agree with you. I think, property management, asset management is so important. It's not the underwriting, it's delivering. When we get the keys, I tell, people, when you get those keys for the apartment complex or everything, that's when the real job begins. To make sure that the property is managed correctly by third party, or you managing the managers, or like we are vertically integrated in my companies, where we had, I think at the peak, had 135 full-time people in our companies.
Wow.
Moneil Management Group, Moneil Investment Group, Moneil Senior Living, which is our new branch now with the senior living, which is a huge demand with the people retiring and so on.
What you're doing there is awesome.
Oh,
It's just simply awesome. We talked about your business model the other day, and I was just like, damn, I wish I thought of that. Damn, I wish I had that partner. It's just awesome. I commend you for that.
Oh, thank you for
Beautiful.
that. And my partner is the builder who's been building it for 9 years. And so I'm able to kind of, build it together with him. I can raise millions of dollars quickly. We have 378 investors now who are ready to chopping at the bit. I'm returning $16 million in the next month and a half because we are selling properties, and they're pounding on my door. Vinney, when is the next deal coming?
They want more.
Good problem. No, but the thing is, I want to really tell everybody, please don't undermine the managing of the asset is so important, and taking care of the cash flows, the pref rates and everything, because investors are gold. I mean, that's how I say. Investors are gold. Of course, our team members are gold. Our, residents are gold, of course, in apartments. If we don't take care of them, those 3, we are in trouble,
Yeah, I mean, that's where you make your money. You make your money after you close the deal. You hear the old adage, you make your money when you buy. That's certainly true with value add. But if you can't execute on that value add and you can't keep your tenants happy and keep them in place, then that deal's not going to work out, and your investors aren't going to come back. And, and real estate becomes a big pain in the butt. But if you just simply execute on the operations, you can have a really, really good business and grow. I just want to say one more thing about your new business there, your new business model. This is what happens. We all start out like I was broke when I first started out. You had just come over from India. You're trying to make a life over here in America, and you get involved in something and you learn it and you become successful at it, like multifamily investing. You start getting cash flow coming off of it, and you get the systems down, and all of a sudden you realize it's like, okay, this is a system. I just follow the systems, and maintain them, especially the operation systems, and I can continue doing this. I can continue building that revenue stream. So now that I got this down, what else is out there? Right. And you look for additional revenue streams, and you went into the senior living. You saw the opportunity in senior living. It's like, okay, I got this, and that's going to continue to bring me money. And now I got this too, and that's going to continue to bring me money. And, you're going to keep doing that. And I'm sure you're going to come up with something else as well. And now you have, 3 or 4 different silos. You probably have more silos, as we speak. But, and that's what business is all about. It's all about, learning systems, getting them down, learning how to do business properly, and then go to the next thing. Business is business in any business. It's just different systems. The coaching formula, right? Revenues equals competencies times frequencies.
Yes.
Doesn't matter which business you're in.
So true, so true. And Dave, what you just said is, my mind is like abundant mind style. I mean, I've never thought about $2 billion, but I'm dreaming, I'm speaking, I'm talking, and I know this decade I'll be transacting with my team $2 billion of build up senior living and buying already built, stabilized senior living that we're going to build and we're going to buy them in our REIT. So
Yeah.
I'm just so fired up. You're right. I think once you start, that train leaves the station, I call it, right? Momentum, it's 5 times the force to get it started. But once we are on a rail, it's 1/5 the horsepower you need, or torque, we call it in engineering terms. So it's so true. And I hope everybody listening to us really get into that train, that engine, and move out of the station, because that's all, Dave helped me, my mentor helped me, my guru helped me to do that 14 years back. And what you see today is because of what Dave taught me. I'm telling you. And I want
Well,
to
let me clarify that.
tribute
It's
to
because of what you were taught and then the action you took after that you were taught it. And then you continued education. That's what it's all about.
so true. So true. Dave, how can people reach you and your teams of
I got, well, they can certainly go to arimentor.com. I got a free book offer. If you want to go to daysfreebook.com, you can get a copy of Multifamily Millions. This is a flagship book that
The
Vinney and so many people learned from.
I learned from it, and everybody. And how about the emerging markets too? You have a great book on that one. Holy,
That's an awesome book.
wow. I remember I yellowed out every line.
There's so much good stuff in there. Yeah. As a matter of fact, here's I actually, because I knew I was going to promo this one. So I said, hey, somebody give me their book. And then there's somebody with all the dog ears and tags and all in their book. So I said, I don't know if you want mine. It's got all the dog ears. And I was like, yeah, it's exactly what I want. It's used. That's what we like.
I love it.
Hey, I've also got a podcast too, Multifamily Deal Lab.
Oh, okay. Yes. Multifamily deal. I think I was on it. Was that the one?
We just interviewed you. Yeah, yours is going to be released next week.
Oh my gosh. Dave, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, you and your whole team over there. Everybody, I'm in debt to you. And let's make this next decade and 20, 30 years. I'll be 69 this year, but I've got 30 years more to live. I want to live straight.
Absolutely. Go out and kill it over the next 10 years. Yeah.
Involved with your family, with, everything happening with your kids. God bless you. And, if I can be of any help, please let me know. Please let me know.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Vinney, it's always great to be in your presence. It's just so much fun. It's always nice to be around fun people. That's why I think, when we were coming to all the events and I would see you out there, it's like, oh, great, Vinney's here. Awesome. Let's, we're going to have fun at lunch today. We're going to have fun.
COVID, my second shot is next Tuesday. So
oh, good for you.
Talk to Jeannie and, see when is the big show coming up. I would love to come.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe even a day or so. It'll be my pleasure.
Come up and join us. Yeah, it will be awesome.
Love to. Thank you so much, Dave. And thank you, everybody. If you like all the content today, guys, and please remember to give 5-star reviews and go get, Dave's free book. It's amazing book. It's going to change your life. I'm telling you, it changed my life. And remember to give 5-star reviews and share this episode with your friends, with your colleagues, with your family, with everything, and give great comments. And we'll see you next week. Take care.
Be sure to listen to Mr. Smiles next week with more golden nuggets and top-notch coaching tips. You can reach him by going to vinneychopra.com. Be sure to like, comment, and share to show everyone how Mr. Smiles has brought your apartment syndication business to the next level.